unreal.
Right, you don't feel it's real, right?
It's crazy.
Well, that's a fun thing, watching people crest into stardom, like bust through, to see how they handle it,
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The whole
Bert Kreischer's a cautionary tale.
It's wild, man.
It's wild out there.
And it's one thing to like meet people because you're just doing more shows. But if you think you had to achieve something to get people to fucking hang out with you, then it's like being the rich kid with an N64 who nobody actually fucking likes.
Wait,
like,
is that me?
But like, that's not.
So these past couple of years have been a wild but interesting time for stand-up comedy, because if you take a look at some of the highest grossing movies, music tours, or sports, even if you don't like some of it, you can still understand why they are at the top and can be considered the best at what they do, at least for that year. However, when it comes to stand-up comedy, we've covered this before, but if you look up the top 20 comedians for 2023 last year, it is still mind-blowing and shocking that you will see Bert Kreischer up there with comedians like Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and Bill Burr. Because most people will understand that there is a huge difference between a comic like Bert Kreischer and Dave Chappelle. However, on paper, they're technically at the same level, but whenever it comes to real life situations or events like the Tom Brady roast, you can see the difference between a professional and someone that looked like they just started comedy that year. And by the way, the other comics that were also on that list, they're all way more successful than Bert Kreischer, but they're actually liked and respected for the most part by other comedians and within the comedy scene. Whereas with Bert Kreischer, it's almost like his ego and delusion has gotten so out of control that now even his own best friend and his own close colleagues seem to be getting tired of him.
Look, I could be a stoic too. I could read the books and tell you what they say.
It's putting it into practice.
Whatever.
Well, that is. So putting it into practice is something to roll your eyes at?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Whatever.
Whatever?
I don't get it.
Let's talk about it.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I love these conversations, by the way. Not that I'm saying there's a right, wrong, and different. I feel like no matter
what do you not get?
Yeah, what do you not understand about it?
And my other thing that drives me nuts is I hate when like stupid people tell me stuff. So like I know Tom's not that smart, and then when he goes, "Here's the thing with Stoicism," I go, "Stop. That's not your idea. You just heard Ryan Holiday say it."
That's an unnecessary shot. That's an unnecessary shot.
I'm talking to a joke comic and a pro athlete about Stoicism. But you make some solid points, Ryan Holiday.
All right, I'll take it.
All right.
Ryan,
see you guys.
Thank you for answering the phone and dealing with my special friend.
Anytime, big fan.
Yeah, it's just like talking to one of the kids. All right, talk to you later, man. Bye.
See you guys, bye.
So in this video, we'll go over how and why Bert Kreischer became not only hated by the fans and the internet, but also by other comedians, because now comics who have worked with him and know him from real life, they're telling how they really feel about Bert Kreischer and the truth about what it's like working for him, more specifically on the Fully Loaded Comedy Festival, because it's not just about having to put up with Bert Kreischer and the wild things he says, how much he parties, and also how he makes it all about himself, but also Bert Kreischer at this point is so disconnected from reality and so far ahead of everyone else that even comedians who are successful and doing very well can't really relate or connect to Bert Kreischer anymore. And it's by choice, because obviously there's comics like Joe Rogan who are way more successful than Bert Kreischer, but they seem to get along with comedians outside of podcasting and all that stuff. However, when it comes to Bert Kreischer, it does seem like he has no real friends outside of comedy or even in comedy, and his only option is to offer comedians a lot of money so that they can hang out with them and party with him on the road while he records every single minute of it to use it as social proof that he does have comic friends. But the sad thing is that even those comics who are getting paid to party with Bert Kreischer, they seem to be getting tired of that lifestyle.
They even got last day. I'm so susceptible, man. It's so easy. I go, hey, when I woke up the last day, I was like, it's the last day. I gotta get all my stuff out of the bus, put it in the hotel. So I was like, they go, Jay, you going to the surf lessons and stuff? And I went, no. And they went, okay. And then Bert goes, no, you're not going to go? And I was like, nah, not on this one, buddy. I did them all this week. I go, I need one to just go recollect, and he goes, how about you come for like an hour, and the runner will take you back if you want to go in an hour. And I was like, and then, everyone's standing around you, and I'm still brushing my teeth, and I have wipes in my front pocket. When you're like, okay,
you went.
I did everything. I did every venture.
Surfing?
No, you didn't have to surf. Me and Dan just rode waves with our bodies.
I don't like that these guys got bamboozled into a TV show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is a TV show.
So is it all content driven, or is it just like, let's go have fun because we're on the road and otherwise we're going to be sleeping in our hotel rooms?
No, this is 1,000,000% content driven.
I hope it comes out. I hope it comes out on HBO just like Torgasm, and it's just like a 10 episode arc.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't.
They make Jay the sleepy one, the sleepy dwarf.
True.
I mean, it's basically like he releases it on his channels, but it is a show. It's fully produced.
Yeah,
right?
fully produced. Me and Dan could walk away. Would be walking away to like talk shit, or not even just whatever, and then you just like even the conversation. I'm like, want to go get on the electric bikes, or we'll go smoke a joint, blah blah. And then you just look up, and there's like a little microphone. Look like, huh? Like Jesus.
Are they following you with a boom?
Yes.
If they're following you with a boom, it's not just on the camera. It's not
a lot of times it's just camera, but sometimes there's a boom.
Now, when it comes to Fully Loaded or Bert Kreischer's Comedy Festival, I never really looked too much into it in the past, although I knew what it was. It always seemed like a positive thing, an opportunity for comedians to not only perform in front of a large crowd, but also to get paid very well for doing so. And for the audience, for the fans, it was a good deal because, like I said, for the past couple of years, Fully Loaded has been having a stacked lineup of comics. So it was a good opportunity for people to potentially see a lot of good comedy. However, after listening to what Big J. Okerson had to say about what it's really like working with Bert Kreischer, it made me want to look a little bit deeper into the whole festival and the events, and found some very interesting things, because it turns out it's not really what it sounds like, in my opinion, because the quote-unquote comedy festival it's not really a festival, and instead it's just a simple comedy show with a really long but stacked lineup, which is what carries the entire show. Now, keep in mind that I haven't been to any of the Fully Loaded events. However, I was at Skankfest last year, but based on what I see online on the subreddits and people's comments, it sounds like what happens is that all the comics get about 15 minutes each, and then Bert Kreischer closes the show with an hour to an hour and a half, and then at the end he brings everybody up on stage and they either sing a song or do whatever, which is pretty much Bert Kreischer's opportunity to show everyone that he is part of the comedy club and how much everyone likes him. Because keep in mind that by doing Bert Kreischer's show, the comedians pretty much agree to open for Bert Kreischer. So once again, the festival doesn't really feel like a celebration of comedy or whatever, and instead it feels like Bert Kreischer's excuse to bribe comedians, good comedians, great comics, to tour with him, party with him, so he can record every single minute of it, and again use it as social proof that he is in fact loved by other comedians. However, I'm pretty sure that most, if not all, of the other comics that are also on tour probably see that as one of the toughest gigs that they can do, that pays very well, but it's also very taxing.
These are such minor, trivial things.
Are you afraid if you say no, he's going to be mad at you? If you go, dude, I ain't doing fucking surfing, go yourself.
No.
But it's understood that this,
No.
it's a vacation.
He knows Dave Attell's not going to do it.
It's totally fun.
Dave doesn't have shorts.
How does Bert do it, though? How does he do
I don't understand. Well, I'll tell you what. He's a napper, big-time napper.
Yeah.
He's a big napper. So, also, that's what I'm saying. That's what's interesting, too. And also, the way he lives, he's just, by the way, he's made for that. It's not as black and white as, right or wrong, who's right or wrong in that situation. Yeah. Bert's kind of right, and I do believe, again, it is expected because he lives his whole life in content. He even says that he's worried about that in his life, that it's so much like anything that happens in his life that he's not even filming. He's like, please, God, someone be filming this.
I'm going to be doing some dates with him just for fun in a few weeks.
You gonna do the Fully Loaded?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Doing the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
Doesn't he do he does fucking 10 comics on a show, right? How long are those shows?
I don't know.
It's a lot of comics,
I
right?
have no idea. I just know we're getting trashed on a bus, having fun, waking up, doing it again.
How long can he do that?
I don't know how long he can do it. I can do it for 4 days. I'm already like, I literally said to my people yesterday, I'm like, make sure I get the first flight out of wherever that ends up.
Now, to be fair, it does make sense why Big J Okerson is still trying to be nice to Bert Kreischer. I mean, of course, they're still on tour together, and I don't believe they've ever had any big fights in the past, although we did make a video about Big J, Luis J. Gomez, and others making comments about Bert Kreischer, to which Big J actually responded saying that we made a big deal out of nothing. I disagree, but the point is at this time, he wasn't saying anything bad, and he was just simply being honest about what it's really like working for Bert Kreischer. Now, Robert Kelly, on the other hand, definitely seems like he doesn't like Bert Kreischer at all. Because, by the way, Robert Kelly does have a podcast with Joe List, Luis J. Gomez, and Dan Soder. So naturally, whenever anything does happen, he will side with his friends. For example, we covered this back when it happened, but back then, Bert Kreischer and Joe List actually got into a massive heated argument over Thai food when they were both at Mark Norman's bachelor party. Things got so bad that they were actually screaming at each other at the top of their lungs. And although now they're good, they fixed everything between them, it did show Bert Kreischer's real personality, because keep in mind, it wasn't his party, he wasn't in charge of anything, and he was still mad and upset enough to scream at one of his friends when things were not going his way. However, the wild thing about the whole situation was that nobody knew about the whole thing until like 6 or 7 months later when Ari Shaffir exposed it on Two Bears, One Cave. So to be fair, it's not like Bobby Kelly is simply asking for any type of dirt. He's asking because Bert Kreischer does have a history of having those type of interactions with close friends. And by the way, that story about Bert Kreischer pretty much pressuring Big J to hang out with him, knowing that they needed to record, is so wild and annoying because, again, it sounds more like an actual job instead of friends hanging out, because that is on top of already performing on stage, and now they have to perform for the cameras on their free time. And now it does make a lot more sense why comedians are so quick to decline doing the tour, even though Bert Kreischer does pay very, very well.
We do a fully loaded tour every year where we did it with Attell last year. We bring like 10 comics, do tour buses.
Right.
Open invite. By the way, I'll tell you what. I'll put out an offer when we start doing offers. I'll put out an offer. I have two. Hang on. Don't say no. I have two. Yeah. I have two that I think you'd really like to do. That would be really fun, and I think we'd all have a blast.
I can't do it though because the show at the Garden is going to be my last show. I mean, I am stopping after that.
No.
You know, Bert was doing that tour last year.
Yeah.
And they said, Bert wants you to come and do a couple of guest spots on the tour.
Yeah.
And my manager, my agent, they're both like, Bert wants you to come. These are great tours. I go, I'm not going to do Bert's. Look, here's the thing about comedy. I love Bert. But I'm saying it's like anything else. Not everybody has the same audience.
No, they don't.
You know what I mean? That's just, nobody even thinks about this. Like, hey, you're exposed to a different audience. Yeah, an audience is going to be like, first of all, they probably have a vague idea who I am. They're not interested. I'm not interested. Everybody go their separate way. You know what I mean?
By the way, just so you know, I have rejected everything he's ever his and then he'll be like, he goes, dude, you know we have the same audience, right? And I go, no, we don't. No, we don't.
We met on Bert's Fully Loaded tour together, which was a fun little stint. You know, short but fun. I did 4 or 5. What did you do? How many did you do? A lot.
I did like 8 or 9.
Yeah, you liked it? Would you do it again or no? You're too busy now.
Nah, I was gonna do it again, but I wouldn't say is that I'm too busy. I just think that not to sound like a huge or anything, but I think
the lifestyle was tough.
A little. Nah, I wouldn't say it's tough. I mean, I think right now the lifestyle is just kind of wearing on me of touring in general.
Are you guys sleeping on the bus the whole deal?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah.
Do you know how loud Bert must snore?
Oh, no, there's no way we can. No, there's chambers.
Do you
and
have
stuff.
any idea?
There's no way that's happening.
That's like a small door.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you pay attention to the way that Bert Kreischer lights up while he's asking Louis C.K. if he would do the tour, it's so wild. And it's very clear that he doesn't really care about Louis C.K. putting on a good show for the people, you know, for the fans. And instead, he's probably just thinking about how good it would look to have Louis C.K. on the lineup, pretty much opening for him. Because even though I don't think Louis C.K. would ever do the Fully Loaded Festival, he still gave a pretty nice answer, basically saying that he had no material left because he was about to record or had just recorded his comedy special. And instead of taking that as a hint, Bert Kreischer pretty much said that he could just go up there and do whatever he wanted, which I think is proof that he really thinks that the fans would just be happy if a big comic shows up on stage and does whatever. And also the whole narrative about Bert Kreischer never being invited to things and that being the main reason why he started the festival doesn't really make any sense, because you could actually argue that his life has been the complete opposite. I mean, one of the big reasons why he is who he is today is because he got invited to be part of Joe Rogan's group of friends. For example, Joe Rogan was the one who told him to do the machine story on stage. It was his fan base who pushed him to record it. And then while they were doing the Sober October or Weight Loss Challenge with Tom Segura, the story blew up. And also at the same time, Tom Segura was also doing very well, so they used all of that to start Two Bears One Cave, and well, the rest is history. So once again, that narrative doesn't make any sense, and instead, what really happened is that Bert Kreischer simply got way too big. He started thinking that he was way better than everyone else, so he wanted to do his own thing, because otherwise, he could have just continued going to Skankfest if he just wanted to party with comedians. And by the way, if you made it this far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And they said, "Why did you create this?" And I said, I was drunk. And I said, because if I didn't create it, I wouldn't be invited. And they were like,
that's fucking crazy.
And I was like,
this might be the psychology of all of it.
Yeah.
If I didn't do it, no one was going to ask me to do it. And I want to have a party. And so if I don't create it, no one's going to ask me to do it. No one's going to be like, we need to get Bert.
That's also not true.
Well, now it's not, because I've done all these huge things. But if I didn't do those huge things, I would have never been invited. I feel like.
But that's also like, if that's why people are showing up, those aren't people you want to be around anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the people that would have been there if shit was just going okay. Those are your actual. That's who you want to spend time with. You know. And it's one thing to like meet people because you're just doing more shows. But if you think you had to achieve something to get people to hang out with you, then it's like being the fucking rich kid with an N64 who nobody actually likes.
Wait,
like,
is that me?
No, but it's like that's not what you should be striving for. Is my point. And you know, maybe even those people that would have been around, maybe you're not paying attention to them because you're striving for other mother. Oh hell yeah!
Campari Spritz.
Yeah.
My sister caught it. You drinking one too?
Wow, Cody. Oh, yeah, don't worry.
Oh, you
I'm
made
good,
them?
thank you.
He's sober. Tom and I'll take one.
It does look incredible.
It's so good. Take a look at that.
That's
if you can
awesome.
look at the bubbles coming up, look at the great ice.
Yeah.
Ice is really important. I'm
And
a big
see,
fan of ice.
this is huge. I think you should have gotten just successful enough to be able to say, I would like a Campari Spritz, and someone brings it to you.
That's very successful.
You don't need any more than that, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Let's talk about Sprite.
And also, the other thing about Fully Loaded that doesn't make that much sense is how Bert Kreischer is calling it a festival. But if you compare it to something like Skankfest, which, by the way, again, I was there last year. If you compare it to Skankfest, which has multiple stages, has tons of comics from all levels performing at the same time throughout the span of 3 days, and it's actually a fun time. If you compare it to that, Fully Loaded, again, it seems like just a simple comedy show with a very long lineup of good comedians, but it's just one show that ends up with Bert Kreischer performing the longest. And they also do a lot of extra stuff that involves drinking and partying, and a lot of other comics are involved. And by the way, this is not an ad. I'm just saying that it's an actual a comedy festival. And by the way, I'm planning on going back this year. So if you see me there, say what's up. Last time I was only there for Friday. It was a last minute thing. But this time I'm planning on going the full weekend, hopefully doing a way better job at getting footage, potentially talking to some people. So again, if you see me there, say what's up. And by the way, the final point when it comes to Fully Loaded versus Skankfest is that at the end of the day, Bert Kreischer only invites and hangs out with people that are, or comedians that are already massive or respected in the comedy scene. Whereas Skankfest, once again, they have comedians from all different levels. I mean, even Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen went there last year. And by the way, Stavros calling out Bert Kreischer to his face was pretty wild.
And then you might have had some stuff. I don't know if it's like family stuff. I don't know what the background is. I don't know the like what you wanted to achieve. And so like you were feeling like a piece of shit when you're like 45 or whatever, but you can look at that. I could look at that as a very successful career where you're at. I always thought of you as a successful comic. Both of you guys, like coming up, you're very aware of, now you could argue what you're doing now is insane. Like it is. It's crazy. Like there's no other, you're both doing arenas. Yeah. That's crazy, dude. Sure. You got buses. You know what I mean? Like, and not one. There's like buses for the stage and shit like that. Yeah. I would argue that's up and too much. You know what I mean? Like, I would argue that it's like you're gonna drive yourself crazy. And I've told you this too, where I'm like, you can't keep working like this. It's insane.
Well, the next I get, it's always been a progression: clubs to theaters, theaters to arenas, clubs to rock venues to theaters, theaters to arenas. Arenas. There's like 2 tiers of arenas. There's hockey arenas where you can get everywhere. There's like 7,000-8,000. It's just a great fucking night. And then you get Amalie, which is 19, or United Center, and then you go, okay, so 2 at the United Center, and then you're like, wait, what am I chasing?
Yeah, what's
like,
that's my point exactly.
What am I chasing? It's like, it doesn't go bigger than arenas. No. It does stadiums, but who wants to do 72,000 people? I kind of do. In Tampa, I'd like to shoot one special in the Tampa Stadium.
Yeah,
I've already talked to the Glazers. I've talked to everyone.
Right? That would be a really great experience for the person in the upper deck. I'll tell you that much. Mother, $200 hear the machine in echo.
I heard it 4 times. I heard the machine 4 times.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. It's like,
and look, at this point, the whole conversation about Bert Kreischer doing way too much and why he says yes to everything, it's getting old and it's really boring. And Stavros treating it like a therapy session and trying to give him some feedback was him being nice, because he could have just been honest and just straight up told him that he's addicted to the lifestyle and that he's also now stuck in the rat race, because by this point, there's no doubt that Bert Kreischer has gotten used to the whole lifestyle and wants more, which, there's nothing wrong with that. There's other comics like Kevin Hart and obviously Joe Rogan who are known as hardworking comics. However, Bert Kreischer also wants to be seen in the same way, except he has zero discipline. And instead of actually putting in the work, he just wants all the credit with none of the hard work, because yes, I'm pretty sure that touring the whole world, doing stand-up comedy, it's not the easiest thing, but Bert Kreischer's comedy style, I don't believe is that hard. And even Bert himself has said that he writes very quickly and that stand-up comedy comes easy to him. So if he just came out and was honest about his addiction to the lifestyle, instead of trying to somehow blame it on his family or trying to paint the narrative that they are the motivation for him never wanting to turn down work, I feel like that would make him way more likable, because everyone knows that he loves to party, and obviously if he stayed at home, he would have no excuse to do it. So, being on the road is a perfect opportunity for him to party basically the whole time. And by the way, not that long ago, a clip of him and Chris Stefano went completely viral, in which both of them were crying while talking about how little time they got to spend with their family and kids since they had to be out there touring and selling tickets. And although it was a nice moment, now looking back, it's clear that Bert Kreischer did not take it serious, because he didn't change one thing. And also, it's so wild that he's still using the exact same excuse as before, since now it doesn't make any sense, because he's loaded, he's rich, and truly doesn't have to work anymore.
What amount of money can I define it so that way I'm not saying yes to everything?
Like everything has to be yes?
Yeah, kind of.
Why?
Because I'm very lucky. So like if I
feel like you're taking advantage if you're not.
Yeah, and I also feel like I'm losing opportunities. I'll tell you, the first time I watch people say no, I'm gonna use real names, and I'm gonna apologize to those people. I feel like putting yourself in the arena to do things gives yourself an opportunity. There's a lot of people that said no to the Tom Brady roast that when they got done were like, I should have done that. Whereas when we got offer, I was like, yeah, I'm in. I didn't even ask for money. I didn't even ask what we were doing. I said, I'm in. Tom's in too. And then Tom's like, hold on. And Tom was like a hard no. We had a long phone call with them, and Tom spoke the whole time. And he was
I was like, no.
Yeah. Because they wanted us to do something different. And Tom's like, it's a roast. And they were like, well, this is what we're looking for. And we're like, the whole time I'm like, we can do that. We can definitely do that. But I look at everything as an opportunity. Give me a stoic idea and I'll pick it apart.
Tom, help me out.
Well,
call up Ryan Holly. He's got a bookstore here, right?
Yeah,
he does,
yeah.
He's a cool dude. And I think it's awesome that he's into Stoicism. But Stoicism's like cold plunging. It's like something that everyone's into right now.
And it's like, I'm just not going to, I already do my gratitude.
but to say that you'll tear it apart, it's almost like Stoicism is ultimately that shit is going to happen to you and it's all about how you deal with it.
Now, that last episode of Two Bears, One Cave was actually very interesting for multiple reasons because, for example, that episode was recorded the same day that they did the episode with Tony Hinchcliffe, in which they got completely destroyed, and Tony openly was being rude to them and made fun of them for their horrible performance at the roast of Tom Brady. And although that episode of the episode with Tony Hinchcliffe was shot after the one with Willie Compton, it does make sense now why Bert Kreischer was acting unhinged and out of control prior to the Tony Hinchcliffe episode, since he knew and was nervous about talking about the performance, since he probably expected Tony to make fun of him. And also on that episode, Bert Kreischer was acting so annoying and so unhinged that at some point he actually took a shot at Tom Segura, which we'll go over in a second, because keep in mind, if he was acting like that on a podcast with a bunch of cameras pointed at him, imagine how he is when the cameras are off. And also what's really funny is that now Tom Segura is back to being the normal one out of the two, and even he is shocked at how out of touch and out of control Bert Kreischer is. Because if you go to the Buzzing with the Boys YouTube channel, they actually posted a vlog of their visit to YMH Studios, and I was shocked. I was surprised at how big the whole studio looked. And now it does make sense why they don't see themselves as comedians anymore, and they probably think themselves more as talents or businessmen, because, I mean, they have a lot of people working for them that depend on them for a living. They also have someone cooking for them, which is wild, and Bert Kreischer pretty much has drinks on demand. So at that point, I feel like you really have to try hard to not become out of touch.
Okay. You were practicing Stoicism when you went on your how many days sober and working out?
3 months.
3 months.
Wasn't enjoyable.
You didn't enjoy it at all.
I got drunk yesterday morning, and I loved it. I loved it. I'm that guy. I'm the roll the dice. Let him
7 different kinds of smoke.
Yeah.
You need those guys.
Yeah.
The basic idea of Stoicism is that we don't control what happens in the world or around us, but we control how we respond to the world around us. It's pretty basic. I think it's pretty difficult to argue with. The idea is that instead of spending time stressing about what other people do, you focus on what you do. Instead of focusing on the mistakes you've made, you focus on how you're going to do better next time. And it's this idea that you try to go through the world around these sort of 4 main attributes, the sort of virtues of Stoicism. Again, I think are pretty hard to argue with. It's courage, self-discipline, justice, and wisdom. So that's the philosophy that has existed for 2,000 plus years. It's supposed to be a framework for dealing with the difficulty of life.
Okay.
Okay, but what is your
What's the opposite? I'm the opposite of that.
What is your main issue against why are you rolling your eyes at Marcus Aurelius? Like, what is that supposed to be? Like, what is something that Marcus Aurelius said that maybe Bert could wrap his head around and go, oh, that does make sense?
Yeah, give me something where I connect with Marcus Aurelius.
Well, let's see. What are you dealing with these days?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Let me talk to him.
Okay.
How much of my life is performative? That is my biggest thing I'm dealing with. I had a girl fall during the 5K. I'm telling you a secret. I know everyone's going to light me up for this. A girl fell, blew out her knee, hit her head, and she was right in front of me, and I stopped down, and I comforted her for about 13 seconds, and then this voice in my head said, is there a camera catching this? And it bothered me. It bothered me that was a thought that went through my head in a moment where I was like, I'm doing the right thing. Does anyone notice? Help me.
Okay, so first off, I think Marcus Aurelius would very much relate to this idea of sort of your public self and your private self, because he's the most powerful man in the world. There's statues of him everywhere. He's cheered and clapped for everywhere he goes. but he's really worried about the sort of toxic effect that this would have as a person.
Yes.
He writes in Meditations about not wanting to be Caesarified.
And by the way, I feel like the whole conversation about Stoicism did have the potential of making Bert Kreischer rethink some of his lifestyle choices, but because he is unable to receive any criticism, and similar to what happened back when Bobby Lee and Steve-O told him to his face that he had a problem, he pretty much shuts down and doesn't want to hear any of it and starts fighting back. But this time it was actually surprising seeing him go against Tom Segura. And again, Bert Kreischer using the podcast as his own therapy session is getting really old, especially because he just pretends like he's being honest and vulnerable, when in reality he has said before that that he's just doing it to make as much money as possible, and he doesn't care if he tricks his audience into buying tickets even if they're not fans of stand-up comedy. And also it's very clear that one of his main goals is to get drunk and party while putting as little effort as he can into his comedy, and at the same time trying to hang out with the best comedians to give him validation, which once again is the exact purpose of the Fully Loaded Comedy Festival. And by the way, now that I think about it, it does make sense why Bert Kreischer wouldn't relate to, or why he doesn't like, a philosophy that is pretty much there to try and help you, to try and provide you a framework to help you try to navigate this thing we call life. Because, you could argue that Bert Kreischer from the beginning has been having a pretty easy life, because even though he did graduate from college after 6 years and majored in English, it only took him 6 months of doing stand-up comedy before he landed a development deal with Will Smith. Then he got his own TV show, worked for a while on TV, met Joe Rogan, became part of the Rogan sphere, and long story short, now he is rich. And by the way, I'm not saying that having an easy life and being lucky is a bad thing. Of course not. But when Bert Kreischer tries to shit on somebody else's philosophy or what they use to try and help them, with their life, that's when it gets completely insane. And also, Bert Kreischer will be recording his new comedy special very soon, so it will be interesting seeing what he has to say and how his comedy has been changing, for the past 2 years, now that he is pretty much one of the most successful stand-up comedians out there.
I think a comedian who gets an opportunity to do arenas, you should do it once. And again, it is for you. It's also a way to make a shit ton of money. You make so much that you can fly in private jets, and it's actually economical suddenly, like cheaper to fly in a jet. Because you can do more shows. You can do like 5 arenas in 5 nights. But it's insane. There's no friction. It's just life gets crazy.
Yeah.
You should do it once.
This is my arena tour.
But then the next tour you should do theaters, because if you're a fan, you watch the guy every time he comes to town. If you're in Minneapolis, you see him come to the Acme every year, and then you go, he's at the Pantages now. That's cool. And then the State Theater, and then he plays the Timberwolves Stadium.
I'm playing there,
and you go there as a fan. You go, huh. Okay, good for you, Bert. I'm happy for you. But the next year, if he's at the Timberwolves, you don't see him again there. You'll see him at the Pantages every time he comes.
Yeah.
Your favorite comedian. But you're not going to go see him at the arena every year.
Tom did his arena tour, was coming everywhere. And then I'm doing Tops Off as my arena tour starting in February. And then I think I would love to say I'm done for a year, but I don't have that brain. I can't.
Yeah, I need the time off. I need the time. And I also want to put a lot of pressure on that show. That show's a very special thing to me, this show on the 28th.
I'm going to watch it. I'll be in London.
Yeah,
I'm going to live stream it.
It's going to be cool.
But yeah, Bert Kreischer is definitely in a very interesting position, because a lot of people have said this before, but he can't continue to do what he's doing forever. And it will be interesting seeing if he slowly goes down, which is normal, or if he crashes and burns like other comedians have done recently. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. Dislike if you didn't like the video. But that is all we have for today. See ya.